This week on Theorists Theorizing, we have author Allan Paul Roberts on the show to discuss his book, The Globalist Plan to Collapse Everything to Usher in a New World Order. Roberts' book isn't your typical political commentary. It's part exposé, part warning, and part spiritual call to arms. He claims that powerful globalist forces are quietly working to dismantle the foundations of modern civilization. Everything from our borders and banking systems to our education, food, and even faith, all pave the way for what he calls a new world order. What makes this book unique is how Roberts weaves together politics, media criticism, and personal revelation. He says the idea for the book came to him in some kind of instant knowing, where he saw 11 pillars of society being deliberately collapsed one by one.
Welcome to Theorists Theorizing. I'm Braden.
I'm Zell.
And I'm Andrew.
So today we're talking about The Globalist Plan to Collapse Everything to Usher in a New World Order, a book by Allan Paul Roberts, the man right in front of you here. Welcome to the show, Allan. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, great to be here, guys. Really appreciate it. Been looking forward to this.
Yeah, I mean, this topic, when it must have been a publicist or someone you're working with reached out, we've been talking about this very topic. If it's not on the show weekly, it's in the group text or anytime we're playing video games.
Yeah, we're like the society's going downhill.
It's
right?
all falling to shit.
Run for your life, yeah.
It started with the ostriches. Next, they're coming for us.
Yeah.
Well, so I genuinely feel like here in Canada where we live is basically a soft launch for everything you talk about in your book.
Yes.
Like genuinely. I feel like this is where it's starting. I mean, the UK too, most likely, but here, everything you're warning about is happening here.
And Australia. It's funny. It's like the former British colonies are the ones getting hit the hardest.
It's like the Five Eyes spy network, but for some reason, all managed decline.
Part of me
maybe
thinks,
go ahead.
I always kind of thought it was the British colonies, like you said, is because they can work on common law. So one decision, judicial decision in one country isn't always used, but could be in other countries. So it's like if one government gets a judicial decision that they like, potentially like Australia could use something Canada did.
Yeah, and they're technically, and I don't understand this completely, but I mean they're under the crown. I mean there is some legal relationship there. Is that right? I mean
it does balance with our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, but it's so.
Figurehead more than anything, but
but the fact that
it works on common law, so it's like there's decisions made can be brought
up.
The
fact that we're still under the crown just goes to show you we're probably the easiest countries to manipulate because literally it's their figurehead at this point. They don't mean anything, but yet we still put up with it, which makes no sense.
Well,
so
I think they must have some hidden power or some power behind the scenes that may not be obvious to the people, but it sounds like there's agreements because, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but I thought like when the head of Canada, probably the head of Australia, is voted in or whatever, or takes power, I thought they still had to pledge some kind of fealty. Don't they?
It's called a royal assent, I believe, where like the governor general, which is the monarch's representation in Canadian political system, like ascends the leader. It's supposed to be a figurehead thing, but you're like, is it? I'm not sure.
I wonder. I really wonder because they do seem to have a lot of control, and like you were saying, what's happening in Canada is kind of what's happening in the UK, which is kind of what's happening in Australia. Very strong parallels.
It's weird.
Between the borders getting flooded, the rights starting to fade away, just people going to jail for Facebook posts even. I mean, it's happening in the UK. Is it happening in Canada?
Here.
I don't know.
They're trying to
not
C29. Yeah, they're trying. I mean, you say there's a connection. There probably is, because I think they're genuinely trying to make Canada a safe haven for Prince Andrew. Because we're now officially trying to no jail time for pedophiles. So
oh my gosh,
wild, man, absolutely wild.
Yes,
I mean, I've heard that if a pedophile does end up in jail, the other prisoners are pretty tough on him. So that's probably the last place.
As they should be.
They should be. That's the justice. Like, that's the true justice. But now we're taking it's just, oh man.
But even among criminals, there's some code of ethics. That's something.
Well, they in Canada, they just basically struck down a mandatory minimum sentencing for pedophiles. So if you're sentenced, you no longer before it was at least a year in jail, 100%. Now it's
Now
they use it under the excuse. They're like, oh, what happens if an 18-year-old shares one with other 18-year-olds? We better let off these two 50-year-olds that have over 500,000 photos on their computers. Makes sense.
Yes, I mean, so that whole thing's this kind of part of your book, kind of like a managed decline of seemingly Western society, ushering in some type of new order. It's seeming like, right? Years ago, it was conspiracy theory. Just to even mention that, and you're like, can't be. And then as the years go on, a tiptoe seems to present itself. You're like, oh, one step here, one step there, one law passed, and all of a sudden you're like, 10 years later, almost don't recognize the country you're in to a point.
It's true. And, I think that everybody's sort of having their eyes become open to this to some degree or another. So I didn't know this, but I mean, it's one of the hottest topics in the whole podcast universe of things to talk about is this kind of thing. And so, I've been on almost 40 podcasts now, and they tell me I'm one of the easiest people to book because people want to talk about this stuff. And I think it's true because everybody's waking up. But the thing about the book is just trying to write something that the common person who kind of doubts this stuff or doesn't know much about it can kind of get their arms around the whole range of what this is all about. I was on one podcast and the guy said, the cool thing about the book is it's kind of like a pop-up book for adults because but the pop-ups are all these QR codes that link to videos. So you kind of get a break from reading because you got entertainment along the way, so to speak,
Yeah.
The ADD generation appreciates that. We need that.
Yeah. You give people a break and then give them kind of a source, at least of somewhat, to kind of back it up.
When I was writing it, when I was doing the research, it was like, man, the most compelling evidence are all the video evidence. I mean, when you hear these jerks saying some of the stuff in their own words, like these tyrants, and you actually get the video and you hear them saying it or talking about their plans, it's like, that's really convincing. It's more convincing than text could ever be. And I'm thinking, I got to put QR codes in here. And it's 100 of the 175 QR codes in the book are videos, and usually short ones, just because I thought, man, I would rather watch a video than read something. And most people would, like you were saying, especially the younger gen. But I think it's true across the board.
Well, especially in today's day and age with so much misinformation, you don't know what to believe or where to believe, that it's if you're just reading in text, a skeptic, they might be sure, let me see it. And then you're like, well, it's actually right here. Perfect.
Well, here's a video of Klaus Schwab saying,
pull out your phone.
You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. And you're like, wait, he did say that.
He maniacally laughs after he says it, like a supervillain.
Supervillain German accent, yeah.
And doesn't he look like the perfect Bond character? You got to wonder if they created the Bond character after him. I mean, you could picture that guy sitting with a white cat on his lap, stroking the cat and, talking about his mini-me.
They will own nothing and they will love it.
Yeah. We will penetrate the cabinets.
It's almost like a perfect character to base these movies off of.
There's even a picture of him wearing this kind of freaky spacesuit looking thing. I mean, he really looks like a Bond character all the way. I mean, you can't make this up. He's too perfect.
All right. So we were talking just before we went live here about how you kind of started this book. It kind of seemingly came out of nowhere. You had a corporate job. You got out of that. And how did this come about? It was almost like a revelation for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And I just like to kind of set the stage real quick, just so people know where I'm coming from. I do pray every day for half an hour to an hour and a half. That's how I start every day. In college, my wife gave me this book called God Calling, which you can get for $6 on Amazon. They still have it. And it's just like a daily devotional. Like you read 2 paragraphs and then just think about it. And over the time, I've gone from like 10 minutes to 20 minutes to 30 minutes. Usually it's an hour, sometimes an hour and a half of like just kind of like read it, a little bit of prayer, and then meditation, like just kind of shut up and think about it. And so I've been doing this for over 20 years. So during these times, once in a while, I get what I call it like the God nudge, like just like a little prompting, like, do something, help this person, whatever, make up with someone you argued with. Just that little nudge of, you could call it your conscience even. But when you're taking that time every day, you sort of get a sense of when God is kind of leading you, giving you the nudge, so to speak. But I had never had anything like this. So what happened to me, this was late April 2024, 4 a.m. I wake up on a Saturday morning near the end of April, and I'm laying there for a minute or two, you know how you do before you get up and use the bathroom. No nightmares, nothing unusual. I'm just laying there, and then all of a sudden, like bang, like a flash is the best way I could describe it. But it was a flash where the flash stayed. And what I had initially was an awareness of 6 pillars of American society and Western society, but primarily American society, that were in danger of coming down. And the sense was they're all being worked on methodically to bring them down. They're in different stages of collapse. And if something isn't done, they're coming down. That was what it was. I didn't know what was being done, but I knew all 6 at once. And I can't replay that in my mind. I can't replay what that felt like because I can't get 6 things at once back into my head because that's not how our brains work. This would be like if you had 6 people of 6 conversations and they were all talking to you and you could understand with total clarity all 6. It was like that, but it wasn't conversation. It was just bang, knowing it. And it lasted for like 30 seconds to a minute and a half. It's hard to say. But I was like floored. It was like, what just happened? I got up. I keep paper and pen in the bathroom. I wrote those 6 down because it's 4 a.m. roughly. I'm going to forget it if I don't write it down. So I go back to bed. I'm just totally distracted though, thinking about these 6. And within 2 or 3 minutes, 3 more. 3 different pillars the same way. I write them down, try to get back to bed. Now I got 9 and 2 more. For a total of 11. At this point, I'm like, what the heck? Like 3 times is a charm, rip off the covers into the bathroom, write them down. And I'm like, I'm thinking it has to be a God thing because the knowledge felt like it was totally from outside of me. I mean, to the point where most of these pillars, I was like surprised. I remember this sensation of thinking, wow, I never thought of it that way. And so I'm like, in my head, God, why are you showing this to me? I don't get it. This isn't spiritual, except for one of the pillars. But 10 out of the 11 weren't spiritual at all. And I'm thinking, why would you show this to me? And no answer. And then it just occurred to me. I said, do you want me to write a book? And if you do, then what's the title? And then flash, boom, the whole title, Every word that you see here, except the word exposed, but the globalist plan to collapse everything, to usher in a new world order was just within it wasn't even a second. There was no time. It was just all there. And so because this was so clear and so overwhelming, I felt like, okay, you answered that question. This is as real as it gets as far as I'm concerned. I will take the time, I'll find the time to research these 11 pillars. I'll research the evidence that they're under attack and coming down if we don't do something. So I spent the whole summer, I went to the beach for 8 nights in May to kick the thing off. All summer, every weekend from Saturday morning till Sunday night around 11, a lot of weeknights and even time during the day. And I got it done in about 3.5 months.
Wow.
300 pages,
Wow,
175 impressive. QR codes. and illustrations. So that's like rocket fast from what I've talked to other authors.
It's got to be a record of a book.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was burning, man. I was so motivated. I can't even explain how motivated I was. I was just like on fire. And it's just all I wanted to do. And, to the point of like not getting my regular work done near as much, getting behind on stuff because I'm stealing time in the day to do it too. And yeah, I couldn't rest till it was done.
Do you think that's due to like some type of divine intervention where, maybe God or whatever was writing through you, or?
Well, I'll put it this way. I wouldn't go that far, but I would say that there was guidance. The other thing that happened that same night around 4 a.m. was after I got that, okay, I'll do it. You've shown me this. About 2 minutes passed, I got like really bad butterflies. Like, man, what did I just agree to? I don't know how to write a book. I have a master's degree, so I wrote a 100-page master's thesis like, decades ago. That's the last time I wrote anything of any size. I write blog posts, whatever, but nothing like this. And it's like, I don't know how to write a book. I mean, that sounds intimidating, especially on this kind of topic. And I really felt this. It's like the answer was waiting for the question, like God knew the question was coming. And I just got this sense, like, write it from the heart, and it'll flow. And it's just okay. I'm not gonna sweat it. I'm not gonna. I mean, my normal. I have a background in computer programming, systems design, manufacturing systems. Working with optimizing factories and stuff like that. So everything I do is to the nth detail before I get started. All the planning, and this gave me the freedom not to do that, not to obsess, and just to let it flow. And that's how I did it. I mean, I would spend like 5 hours on a Saturday here. Then I'd kind of burn out, and I'd go to Starbucks and write there. I'd go to Barnes and Noble and write there, with 2 battery packs and stuff. But the way I would do it, instead of some massive outline, I would take like one topic at a time, like one chapter at a time, and I would think about it, write down a few bullet points, and then start researching online. And as I'm researching, I'm creating more bullet points and links and things like that. And then I'd get all that, and then I would just start writing. I wouldn't organize it. I would just I would try to let it flow, and it flowed. I mean, it flowed. That's why I got done so quick. And that was the promise, right? Write it from the heart, and it'll flow. And I made it like a conversational type of style, so it's not hard to read. I had somebody tell me like, I feel like a friend is talking to me. I don't feel like this is some college professor torturing me with every paragraph, making me read it 3 times before I get it. It feels like a conversation.
Now,
I think that's part of the flow.
Before you got this epiphany, or this, whatever you want to call it, were you like the guy at family dinner, kind of like me? Like, you're never going to guess what's going on. You're trying to talk to your uncle, and he's like, all right. Then turning away, and you're like, all right, well, that guy's out, so I'm going to turn over to this guy. Have you ever heard of World Trade Center Building 7? Was that you before, or was it like a slow drip as you started doing the book?
No, I wasn't the guy that would bring that stuff up, but I definitely had an interest in it, and I'll call it like a pastime interest, listening to different things, just because I'm curious, and it's more interesting than the regular news, But I didn't have anywhere near the level of depth that I got by reading the book. And so I was aware of the problem at the southern border, and that really bothered me, the rate that people were coming through there unchecked. I knew that one. And I was really suspicious of the medical system after the whole COVID thing.
Sure.
So I could have probably said, yeah, those are 2 big problems, but no way could have I come up with this 11, especially that fast,
Right. Now, you say your book is kind of aimed at helping people wake up the common man, you would say. So you have these 11 pillars. Without giving away too much of the book, can we go through some of these pillars and just kind of give us like some points that would be like, for someone who has no idea why the borders are being overrun or why this or that?
Sure.
Let's start with national borders then, because that's point number 1 right there.
Okay, and if anybody wants to kind of follow along, if you go to globalcollapsebook.com, there's a tab that says 11 pillars, and that's what we're talking about. So there's like a visual for each of the 11 there. But anyway, the first one is national borders. And the key thing here is that this is not an accident. This is not just Joe Biden at the do you remember when he debated Donald Trump before Biden came into power? He made a statement, and this is a QR code in the book. He said, "I would tell them to rush the borders. I would tell them to come on in." He was signaling to the world that if I win, we are going to open these borders, and so that was his plan. But it was also the plan, and had been happening in Europe since like 2011, or maybe before that, with the fall of Gaddafi. We started one big flow, and then Syria right after that, another big flow, and it's never stopped. It's happening to this day. I mean, they've had I think it's about 60 million people since 2010, 2011 have come into Europe.
It's the biggest human migration in all of recorded history.
Yes. And in Australia, which only had a population of about 20 million, they've added 8 million. They've increased their population by like another third, or more than a third. So Australia's in terrible shape. But the point is, this is a coordinated global effort to kind of rush the borders of the developed world. The U.S., Australia, the UK, all of Europe. I don't know the extent to it's happening in Canada. I didn't come across much of that. I don't know how much of a thing it is there.
Happening, but maybe not on that same level.
Yeah,
though.
not the same way. I would say in Canada, our big corporations are using temporary foreign workers as a way to exploit the system.
It's slave labor.
And basically it's human. It's akin to human trafficking. They bring people over. They're like, you work for Tim Hortons now, and they're like, I don't like the working conditions. So like, do you want to go home? Because if you don't like it, you can go home. And so it's like these people come, they get paid less than minimum wage. Their wages are subsidized by the government, and there's no work. No one's keeping track of the working conditions, if it's poor or if it's good, because they're not going to say anything. Because if they say anything bad, they're shipped back to where they came from. So it's a little bit different, not quite the same here, but it's being exploited.
Well, we went in from we used to have controlled immigration, which is paramount for pretty much any Western country who doesn't have their own kids. So that was normal for a while, and then all of a sudden it just went from 250,000 to 1 million a year for like 4 years.
Yeah.
Well, Canada's always been a melting pot, right?
Sure.
Like that's what the country's been built on. But we've gone from like people coming to Canada to want to be Canadian, assimilating, to now just with a massive open border, we're getting people here that just, bring a lot of what they left here.
Yeah,
right. Which
exactly
brings up and a lot of that stuff you'll see, like, we all know in the UK, like it's great to be inclusive. We want everybody of all cultures, but like some of these issues that they bring over aren't really conducive to Western society.
Well, it's
right?
not
like it just doesn't
it's
work.
not like it used to be. I mean, back in the day, Ellis Island in the U.S., give us your poor, give us your whatever. But these people had a place to work when they came in. They had to have a place or they didn't come in. In other words, you have to have somebody kind of sponsoring you. Mm-hmm. You can't just... I mean, there wasn't even the welfare state back then, but despite that, they still didn't want people coming in without a purpose. But now here we were just letting them in unchecked. There was no plan. There was nothing to help them really assimilate. They don't have to do anything. Don't have to learn the language. Don't have to learn the history of the country. The Constitution. Nothing. They just let them in, like as if you would leave your front door open at night before you go to bed and get out there with a bullhorn. Hey, everybody, I just want you to know we're going to bed now. We're going to leave the door unlocked in case any of you want to come in. Yeah, I mean, nobody would do this, but it's being done to flood the Western world, to dilute the society, and also to basically to bring it down, just to collapse it financially, because no society can afford all these giveaways that they're giving.
Well, that was my question.
We don't have the infrastructure for these people either. Like medical system, everything we have now is overloaded.
Everything was built
it's all
for a predictable increase in population. Like how many hospitals and schools are being built, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, now you just overwhelm that by an insane amount. And this kind of stems with, we had a prime minister who was prime minister for maybe a few too many years, Justin Trudeau, openly supportive of the WEF and all these trans-border conglomerates that...
Yeah, Klaus Schwab mentioned him by name as one of the examples of such a great...
he is on record saying that he wanted Canada to be a post-nationalist state, meaning the border didn't matter. And you come here and there's no... Because everyone, like, to have a country, you need borders, language, and culture, right?
Yeah.
So as soon as it was his prerogative to remove those in order to have a post-nationalist state where come to Canada and just form a bunch of countries in Canada. And that's why it happened. So you can, if you go with the globalist agenda, it was textbook, right? It was a textbook thing.
Getting rid of borders is a really important step toward creating a one world order, a one world government, a one world system where you lose your national identity. Everything is kind of the same. It's kind of like you can go to any city in this country and there's going to be McDonald's and all these chains, I mean, everywhere it's the same chains, That's just an example of what can be done on a national level, international level, where all the countries kind of become the same. Everybody's in here. There's every race, religion, and creed, and there's no really core anymore. It just kind of starts to all melt away. And now that's a huge step toward, losing your national identity, making it easier to develop like a global identity.
Yeah, I mean, we're a multicultural country. We have been since the foundation. But it just seems like in the last handful of years, it went from like multicultural, just do whatever you want. Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Well, and the scary part for us essentially is like things haven't gotten any better because we went and elected one of his, advisors, who was also a WEF member, and literally quoted in saying in his book, "Western society is morally rotten."
There it is.
Like, it's
we're horrible.
And now this guy's running our country. It's just terrifying.
He didn't live here for 10 years. He had no roots in Canada, except he was born here, and all of a sudden he's the prime minister. You're like, oh.
Well, I mean, with Biden, it was a similar level of anxiety for people who knew what was going on. It was. They may not have that kind of history of being like a WEF, high-ranking member, but he certainly was controlled by the same type of people.
Well, oh yeah,
that one's different
especially near the end.
Well, I was going to say somebody was controlling
Bernie's for the last year.
Yeah, that's the difference.
Is this guy? He comes out. He's 6'6" one day. You're like, wait, what the hell's going on here? What?
It's like we know he's a sock puppet, but who has his hand up his back? It's like what's going on? Who's flapping those lips? It just hard to know.
Yeah, so it's hard not to see it in that one. We might not get through all 11 of these pillars. That's why you have to get the book. But let's. On that same topic, kind of like the security and police protection pillar.
Yeah, they go hand in hand. They go hand in hand. And so at the same time, you weaken the country by opening the borders and just getting the lawlessness that comes with that. Then the second step, is security and police protection to reduce it, to collapse it, to end it, to reduce it. And we saw this. I mean, in the U.S., it was the Floyd riots that kind of set the stage, where the cities were burning, and it was shocking to me the level of the cities burning, and nobody's doing anything about it. I mean, if there was ever a time to send in the National Guard, if there was ever a time for the governors to say, "Yeah, send them in, we'll take them. We can't handle this ourselves." But no, they let them firebomb, and nobody's going to jail. They're getting let out right away. These district attorneys were set up and in place and ready to just not prosecute anything. And then on top of that, they come up with these crazy laws like steal up to $1,000 per store per day. So you could go to Walmart, Target, whatever, steal up to $1,000. And these people, you probably saw the videos. They're running out with trash bags full of stuff. They're just bum rushing the store. The clerks aren't allowed to stop them. There's no police stopping them. So it's just, it's a collapse of law and order. And then on top of that, you make the police afraid to prosecute because afraid to arrest because they know they'll be out on the street within an hour, and they're getting sued and harassed, and there's fewer of them. And so it's basically to make people feel less secure and be less secure, which also demoralizes and it starts to collapse society.
Was that? Well, it's scary too, because you think like you allow all these issues to come to a head, and then you get to a boiling point, and then they use it like 9/11, post 9/11 to force fucking, all these new bills where all of a sudden we have no more privacy or anything like that, right? Like it's like, we welcome all these rules because we're unsafe. We need it. Protect us, please.
Yeah, well, Klaus Schwab talked about the angrier world that was going to be created. Remember that quote? Yeah, an angrier world. It's getting pretty angry.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was Hitler, for your safety, right? That's how it's. Yeah. That's one of the final pins of that regime. Went from like a nationalist party to a fascist dictatorship, and that was like the one thing. Like, for your safety, we have to take the guns. We have to do this for your safety, and then it was like, and now we're also going to invade the rest of Europe. So like that's like
for your safety.
For your safety, Oh. Yeah, was that $1,000 limit? Was that just up to the states, or was that like a federal? I remember hearing about it. Like San Francisco was like rampant with this thing.
It was city by city, and they were very similar. I don't think that's a coincidence. Some of them were like $950, $1,000. It didn't really matter. At some point, they just filled up and ran out with whatever they wanted. Nobody was checking them.
It's San Francisco, nuts. Because of that, like tons of these big box retailers just said, that's enough. And they just left hundreds of empty stores because they're like, well, we can't make money.
There go the jobs. Yeah.
Right. So that's just like it's to the point of the book, like almost engineered, societal collapse for seemingly could be easily avoided because it was fine forever. It might have had a slow down, but all of a sudden it seemed like we just went off a cliff over like 5 years. Whoops.
Yeah, and it's happening all over the Western world, like I was saying. That's one of the indicators that it's a plan, that it's not just random. I mean, we can get into the medical at some point, but on the medical side, a lot of the incentives to classify everything as COVID, the financial incentives and the the amount of money that the hospitals and the doctors got when people went from like one phase to the next, like when they got intubated or whatever, they kept getting, there was a financial incentive for all of that. And the incentives were very similar all across the Western world when you translate it into the local currency and everything. They were very, very uniform, which is pretty telling too.
Prescribe this, get this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say anything about that because I ruined us last time. But everyone knows.
We all lived through it.
We lived through it. Everyone knows what happened.
I don't think there's, I would say the majority of people are like, yeah, something was up.
Something fishy on that one.
We weren't nothing worked as it said. I mean, it didn't take. All it took for the mask situation is anyone who's ever had to get a fit tested mask to know that, like, well, these don't work because the air just, if it's not fit to your face, the air's just going to come in and out the easiest.
The surgical masks are just for droplets. That's fucking it.
Yeah,
and
my favorite was you got to wear it when you walk into the restaurant, but as soon as you're at the table, you can snap it off because the germs know to leave you alone and just stay in your your table bubble.
As long as the cook was wearing a mask. That's all I cared about. I was like, you better been wearing a mask when I was cooking my food.
It's
one of my things that really encouraged me was, we started going out at the first opportunity to get the heck out and go to some restaurants and stuff. And there's one little bar near where I live where they just refused to wear them. And it was just so good. It was just such a feeling, The waiters would have their, it was more like a beard cover than it wasn't, and everybody was just like, we've had enough of this. And they were one of the first. So that was just a good
the masking thing was a little bit of a psyop.
And it's a weird thing because to live through that, and it's like all the conspiracy theorists during that were like, if we don't fight back now, the next it's climate lockdowns. And we just saw that this past summer in Canada when we had some fires, and you weren't allowed in the backcountry.
I heard about that.
You weren't allowed.
Like it could be the backyard, like the woods start at the end of your backyard. You couldn't go in there.
No, the government came in and had roped off zones of forest that you could go if you wanted to go out in nature, and people were like, "Well, I could just start a fire here." And it's still connected to the forest. This doesn't make any sense. $25,000 fine if you were caught breaking that order.
I saw a video where the guy actually, you probably saw it, right? Where he just crosses over the line on purpose, like, come get me, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think he even contacted the authorities first and was like, write me the ticket. Which is good because it's probably going to take a few years.
Dude, that one was insane in the sense that every year in Canada, well, in BC especially, we have what's called backcountry bans where like it's so dry you can't. You're not supposed to go 4x4ing or like, but you can go hiking and camping. You just can't have a fire. This one was different. It was like you can't go in the woods. Period. Yeah, and they're like, excuse me.
The stranger part about that was their excuse because they were like, oh, you know what? Actually, it's not because we're worried about you starting a fire. It's because our emergency services are so tied up and busy fighting these fires. If you fall and break your leg, that is going to take critical resources away from the forest fires, which is not how emergency services work whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like it's wild. And people drank it like the Kool-Aid. Like that's, for all of this, that's the scariest part when you bring up the medical system and you talk about how we got duped by the efficacy rates. That's not the worst part. Is how we bought into the fear.
Yes, it's embarrassing, isn't it?
Bended over. Hey, I'm ashamed. I am so fucking ashamed of the Kool-Aid I drank. Being someone who worked in the medical field at the time,
it wasn't even good Kool-Aid.
No. Like I hate it.
You were working in the shit. That's why you're a different case.
As a paramedic in the downtown east side of Vancouver when this was happening, and I was double fisting Kool-Aid. I was angry at people for not getting vaccinated. I was and it is one of the lowest points of my life, and there's a lot of lows. And that's got to be one of the lowest.
But honestly, they took a trusted public service.
Yes.
Right?
The most trusted.
Right? Everyone. It was universally trusted before this time. Universal. Right. If you look at it now, Canada just lost its measles free designation.
I was just going to say, now, like, look what you did.
We just
created a monster.
And this is because, and to be honest, it's like, you go for vaccines, they're like, you want any other, like, nothing other than what's normally scheduled.
Normal
and
ones.
I don't even know if I want that. Like
Right.
it's in the back of my head, and it's just because of all the misinformation that happened with that I no longer trust the science, because it turns out you weren't giving me any science, you were just lying, right?
You're giving me politics and fake news
and big pharma.
Starting with Fauci. I mean, that's one of the really early things in the book. Is I try to lead people into the easy wins. And one of the easy wins is just watch these 2 or 3 videos on Fauci saying 3 different things at the same time. Masks don't work. You must have a mask.
Yeah.
You know, and he just goes back and forth. Yeah, you need them. No, you don't. Yeah, wear 2 masks. Wear a mask outside. You know, he's just all over the board. And this is the same guy who's supposed to be the science. Like the science changes.
And then he pardoned him. For what? What does he need a pardon for? I was like, what is that? What is he? I was like, that made it even worse in my mind.
Absolutely.
That was the auto pen.
Yeah, if there's nothing to hide, why does that guy need a pardon?
Hey man, it's all good. 15 days to stop the spread.
I mean, even
2 weeks to stop the spread.
Even a Catholic priest doesn't have the authority to forgive you for future sins that we might discover.
Yeah, you got to go back every time.
But Biden gave him, I forgive you for everything you might have done that I don't know about yet.
Because wasn't Fauci, because what Kennedy wrote a book about him, Real Anthony Fauci, and it's about wasn't that HIV drug and all these other drugs that turned out to be
remdesivir. Yeah,
not good.
Yeah.
And he wasn't sued, terrible. And so it's not like defamation or slander or anything. It's like he spat facts and he couldn't do anything about it, and everyone just went, forget about that one. It's fine.
And also, if you want to touch on a previous theme, we talked about Klaus Schwab looking like a supervillain.
Yeah.
I mean, Anthony Fauci looks exactly like the bad guy from The Burbs.
Oh yeah,
that is one saggy looking evil dude.
Yeah,
right. He looks
and
like
he
a
even
monster.
Talks kind of like it, doesn't he? He has that
I am
gangster
the
sound
science.
to him.
It's terrifying.
I am the science.
Yeah, it's like as soon as you say that, you're like, woo. I don't think that's how science works, Fauci.
But like now you have this. It's you now like in this like. I actually, it does concern me as just a human that if something really bad were coming down the pipe, if something really bad were coming down the pipe, and say it hit next year and it's really bad, and we actually have to do something, you're not going to get any help.
It's going to be a slow trickle.
You're going to get pushed resistance from the masses the entire way.
Yeah, I think it'd be about a 60% push, and the other 30 or 40 would be like walking zombies. I mean, there's still people walking around with masks. You have it, don't you? Driving around in their car occasionally, or
By
you see
themselves
someone in a
car.
supermarket. And I feel like you poor thing, you are still living in the fear that all of us were living at the beginning of this thing. Remember when it started, all the fear, like
it was
people
insane.
were washing
Those
their
first few
grocery
months.
bags, and I mean, they're still there. Can you imagine what that would do to you over time to keep living with that?
Yeah.
I mean, we are on record, like a few months before the outbreak, openly mocking it. There's podcasts of it.
I was like, when the airport shut down, then I'll be worried.
Yeah.
It's like a week later, they're like, shut down the airport. I'm like,
I guess I'm worried.
But it's funny, like it's funny that because it's like the mask thing and stuff, like it's stigmatized everything, because I lived in Asia for a while, and it's like it was normal in the culture over there if you were sick to throw in a mask.
That's when it makes sense.
When you go about your business,
Sure.
because you don't want to get other people sick. And it was just like, if you like, it wasn't anything tied to that.
Courtesy.
It was a courtesy to other people of just like, yeah, you know what, I'm kind of sick. I'm not going to, that way you're coughing, not coughing on your hands while you're doing your business through the day, whatever. It's like, you can't, like, even now I see someone I see a surgeon performing surgery with a mask. I'm like,
pathetic.
you idiot. Like, what are you doing?
Wait,
Take
would you prefer he did it without the mask?
Yes.
Just cough openly into my wound.
Just cough straight into my wound.
Yeah, slobber into my open wound. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, it ruined the trust in that system, which most of the medical system is great. Like emergency doctors, trauma doctors, all the stuff that save lives every day is amazing. And
what I'm most upset about is we never gave an official apology to the pangolin.
They blamed on this poor
got
pangolin.
Bum out for so long.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Then we turned on bats.
Yeah.
It was bred on a zoo bat and dropped onto a sand slash, and then they're like, now you got it, I guess.
It's interesting though, because it's interesting because it's like why gut that public trusted like medical system, like why, because you obviously, if this is like controlled descent, managed controlled descent, you got to think that one way to do it is to like,
distrust.
I always kind of felt that we were already being fed pills that we don't need to keep us sick, and there's a whole nother subsection of society that wants you sick and wants you ill so they can profit on treating you, not to get you better, to treating you. But now it's like to gut that, and it's like now people don't trust that facet. It's like what is the purpose of having everyone like question now the medical science?
Alan told you. It's a pillar of one of the 11 pillars, and they broke it down. The trust in the medical system was one of the pillars. That's it.
Yeah. And I honestly think, and I can't prove this, but my conclusion is that they really thought that the vaccine and booster uptake, in particular, the booster uptake was going to be a lot stronger. I mean, there are people that have been boosted 8 times. But there's a lot more that, like, after 2, they said, I'm done. I don't trust this anymore.
Yeah.
And I think they thought that they had the influence to keep the whole world going with, twice a year booster shots or something. And that would have accomplished what I believe is their ultimate goal a lot quicker, which is depopulation. I know that sounds dark, but I really do believe that.
But so one of the things that I've always kind of been I've heard that depopulation, you're in the right show, we talk about it all the time. But one of my biggest gripes with the depopulation is I've always kind of thought like, it's like if this is like a group of uber rich, very wealthy, very powerful people,
yep.
What's the upside to depopulation? Because then there's just less workers for you. You know what I mean?
Less money for you.
It's less money for you. It's like, it already seems like there's such a gap.
Yeah, but unless they knew AI and robotics was coming down the pike anyway.
Yeah.
That's very true. Yeah. I didn't think about that. I mean, when I was having these thoughts, AI was still making Will Smith on
the same thing. On the same thing of depopulation, sure, you have AI and all this stuff. AI is only good for what? Really making these companies more money because you can have less workers. But if there's no one to use your product, that's always been my thing. Like we did the Georgia Guidestones where it's like depopulation to 500 million people. I was like, that's not enough people to have the world run. Period. So like
not the world that we know, but I think these people are psychopaths, and they see the world as their property, and they see the useless eaters as having no right to be there. And I think in their twisted minds, they think that a world with a much smaller population where they already have everything. They have their bunkers, they've got their robots, they've already got it all. And because they're billionaires and in some cases trillionaires and all these families with these bloodlines that, take care of each other, they don't think the way you and I do. I think they would be very content with a very small world population, and they've got the globe to themselves, and they don't have to share it with anyone.
Who's going to fix all the stuff that breaks?
Yeah, well, that's probably in their 500 million.
I guess.
Yeah. But I mean, the thing that's genuinely scary about that for me too is the fact that I think in their minds at some point, like they think they're doing the right thing. Like for the world, they genuinely are thinking that this is for the benefit, not just for them, but for the world itself. Like this is, and it's like, that's that Thanos snap, like kill off half the population. The world's gonna be a better place.
They just know. Terrifying. They think they know.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be the most kind interpretation. On the other hand, to the extent that some of them are genuine Satanists, then their motives would be a lot different than a normal person. And this is really going down the rabbit hole, and I do not get into this much in the book other than to say that at the top, there's many people who say that the people at the top are Satanists. So if that's true, then they are serving what Christ described Satan as, he called him the thief. He comes to steal, kill, and destroy. That's who he is. And so people who follow him as a religion would be aligned with a being that wants to steal, kill, and destroy. And I think they're really selfish. I think they're dark. I don't think they have empathy. They see people almost like we would see cattle. They don't see us the way
just used people for do. Gain.
Yeah, I think they're deceptive, sly, evil, and I don't attribute any good to them. To the ones who are really in that camp of being a true Satanist.
Now,
so
I got a question about that actually, because I mean, I grew up kind of religious, went to like a religious school and stuff, but kind of fell out of it. But like, do Satanists believe like like Christians believe Jesus is coming back? He's going to, whether that be from the grave, raise up, or you die and you go to him, or he actually just comes back and brings you all up, whoever is the followers. Do they think like Satan's coming back? Like, why? Like, we love this guy who is the thief and he kills and murders. We love this guy. What's the goal? Like, they believe they're going to like the heaven of Satan? Like, go to hell is like a great place? Or is like, what's the point?
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, they believe that Satan is more powerful than God, and that God isn't like the true God or something.
The reverse God theory. Heard this before.
Yeah. And so they think that Satan is going to win in the end, and they've aligned themselves with him.
It's kind of like why I say thank you very much when I use AI at the end. Whenever I make a request, I say thank you very much, Grok. I appreciate you. Just want you to know, just in case. You never know, right?
You never know.
But you say, is he coming back? Well, probably in the form of the Antichrist and the mark of the beast and all that. If you want to get into the Bible, yeah, Satan will have his time on earth. It'll be short-lived. But
I mean, you just had Peter Thiel giving a 5-part private billionaires only conference on the Antichrist. I mean, that is not to be worried.
Somebody was joking about, you might have seen that video where they're joking about it. It's like, Peter Thiel has, he's an AI expert. He's, runs all these companies and everything. He's supposed to be really brilliant. So on top of like being an AI expert and, things that could control the world, his other interest is the Antichrist. I mean,
it's very interesting.
It's not tennis. It's not skeet shooting. It's not whatever. No. It's the Antichrist.
Now, one of the things you were talking about was like the collapse of like the financial, and like currencies and everything. And one of the questions I had is, what are your thoughts on like things like cryptocurrency? Because like Bitcoin, famously, no one knows who created it. And you starting to see mass adoption and stuff. And listen, I love the idea of cryptocurrency, a decentralized network that banks and stuff can't control. But always in the back of my mind, I go, who made it?
Who made it? 100%.
Exactly.
Who made this? And holds basically the most amount of it.
A huge chunk.
There's rumors afoot, but part of me is always kind of in the back of in my little conspiracy brain has gone like, this is the one world currency, and they're just slowly pushing it.
I don't trust it. I mean, it has, how they always used to say this thing had all the indications of Russian disinformation, that whole line they kept saying. Well, to me, the story of Bitcoin, of this mysterious thing that nobody knows, the guy who actually came up with it, and he's trying to keep himself anonymous so that they don't come and kill him. And in this whole like weird storyline, this feels like a CIA psyop if there ever was one.
100%,
you know what I mean? Because they're also able to use it to, do their drug running and money laundering and, keeping it all hidden. Now it is an open blockchain. They say that.
Well, it's an open ledger. It doesn't mean that it's
ledger.
It doesn't mean that you can just see everything. I mean, it's all code. So you can see one wallet transferred X amount of Bitcoin to another wallet, but you have no idea who's who, and you can keep track of who's sending to what. But it's not like if you're like,
but
he
maybe the CIA could.
Well, maybe
the CIA, you know what I mean?
They have another level.
If they created it,
Well, it's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I would trust if I was going to get into it, I'd probably do something like Monero or one of the other ones that is not an open ledger system that's truly secure. I don't have a problem with that, but Bitcoin in particular, I just don't trust it because I don't like something that has this weird sci-fi mysterious story to it, as it's beginning. I just can't go there.
I don't trust stuff that just drops value in 20% in 5 minutes.
So volatile. Jeez.
Yeah. What was that, Andrew?
I thought they knew, the creator, I thought it was that Japanese guy, Nakamoto or something.
Well,
Satoshi.
It's a Satoshi,
but it's a character.
They don't know. It's not a real person. Right. So it's
it's a story.
There's been many people they think it's him.
You got to take the word, I am Lord Voldemort.
Yeah.
Chamber of Secrets. You just move the letters around with fucking spell symbols.
It's a cipher. The problem
is and he holds the largest amount. So it's like
single amount.
If he could rug pull everyone.
Sure.
And just tank it to zero by selling off, he's
it's only $100 billion, doesn't
I thought he had more than that. Only, no big
deal. How many coins is he has? Oh, he has 968,000 Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's quite a bit.
That's 100 billion. So that's only a few percent of the full value of Bitcoin, though.
Still a lot. He's still tanking.
If someone dropped $100 billion instantly, the market would freak and it would be like, boom.
Yeah.
Nope.
But maybe I don't understand Bitcoin well enough, but I could swear I've heard people say, there's a certain number of Bitcoin and it'll never increase.
It's finite. 21 million.
But then what's all this mining they do? What are they mining?
So they're mining Bitcoin. So I think the last Bitcoin will be mined in 2048 or something. So every time there's on the blockchain, just to give a quick lesson, in 15-minute increments, all the computers around the world that are running the Bitcoin network are solving a mass equation. And within 15 minutes, they lock the block forever. So all the transactions are secure, and then it moves on to the next one. And basically, there's not enough computing power to hack what the global network has done.
Okay.
I still have no idea what, like,
No one really knows.
I know I'm retarded, but this makes me feel extra retarded. Like, I have no idea what you're saying.
So then, so then once all the transactions are locked, then it starts on the next 15-minute window before it locks it again. So
that's why it sucks to pay with, because it takes 15 minutes.
It takes 15 minutes to confirm any of your transaction. But then they say it's like no one can hack it because no one has enough
not yet.
Computating power. Yeah,
until you get one of these super quantum computers, and then it's over.
Yeah.
All right.
Very soon.
What's the next pillar? Okay.
Just on this pillar of finance. So what is leaving crypto out of it? Just like our current fiat currencies, like the States does it, Canada does it, all the Western countries. Just like, we're just going to print billions of dollars of money that doesn't exist. It's going to be banknotes and loans, and the pension funds are going to buy them. It makes no sense. No one knows what it means, and we just have trillions of dollars of debt. What is that? The collapse?
All the Western societies, and they say even Russia and China, so it's not just the West, but everybody's debt to GDP ratio is in bad shape, pretty much across the whole world, pretty much, and so it just seems like they're all going bad at the same time. And how much would it take for one country to fall before the others start falling like dominoes, because they're all interconnected in these banking systems? So, I mean, if the U.S. were to go down, it would probably rapidly drag a lot of the world down with it, because, I mean, you just know how it happens. Like when Silicon Valley Bank went, and then there were two other banks that went in the U.S. Very quickly, that almost exhausted the FDIC funds to save the banks. They say, "Oh yeah, you're insured up to $250,000. Everybody's insured up to $250,000." Yeah, that's true, unless too much of it fails at once, and then there's not enough money in the FDIC to save anything other than like 1% of all of the deposits on hand in U.S. banks, just as one example. But the banks are actually in much weaker financial condition than most people realize, in the U.S. at least, because they kind of did a rug pull. The Fed did, by having 10, 12 years of almost zero rates. So these banks with all the extra money from all this quantitative easing are putting all their extra money usually in treasury bills and treasury notes, getting 0.5%, 1%. And the value of these things is the interest that they throw off, right? When you have that kind of instrument, that the value is directly related to what the interest rate is that it pays. And so $100,000 T-bill at 1% pays $1,000 a year. If they crank the rates up to 5%, now that $100,000 at 1% is the same as $20,000 at 5%. Your $100,000 T-note is now worth $20,000. So if there's a run on the bank and they have to cash them in to give people cash, they're underwater on all that. And they are underwater. It's just that the Fed allows them to value it at the face value instead of the true current market value. But I mean, if like I said, if there's a run, it'll come down really fast. So it's very fragile.
It's crazy because we gave the power to private banks to just print money out of nothing.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I know in Canada it was somewhere in the 70s, or the last Trudeau. It used to be like the banks could only loan money that they got from the central bank, and now they can just take fractional reserve loans and loan out. Every country's different, but like I think in Canada it's like maybe 5 or 10%. So if they have $100,000, they can loan out $90,000 again, and then just keep loaning it out forever. So there's just no money in the bank, but there's money in the economy. But actual cash is like a fraction of it makes no sense.
It's all based on trust. As soon as there's that panic, if there were to be one, and people want to pull their money, it's going to be obvious real quick. Just like It's a Wonderful Life, Put on if you ever saw that movie. where George wants to, the people are doing the run on the bank, and he's trying to talk them out of taking their money, and I can't give you that. Your money's in his mortgage, it's in his business, it's here, it's there, it's not in the bank.
Yeah, it makes no sense. It's so confusing.
Even in Canada, if you take it a bit larger sum, like anything over like $2,000, the teller is like, "What is this for? We need to.
Sure?
We need to know what it's for."
Sure, you need
Same here.
And you're like, "What?
Really
it doesn't matter.
How about
Drugs.
$1,500?
Give me my money."
Do you know why? Because at least in the U.S., and I suspect it's the same in Canada, the money you have in the bank is not legally, technically your money. It's the bank's money, and they owe you a debt against it. So this changed after 2008. It's like the bail-in laws. It actually says that if the banks are in danger of going under, they can take the depositor's money and in return give them bank stock of the same value.
The value, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that $50,000 you've been saving, for this down payment on your house. We now will give you $50,000 worth of bank stock.
Yeah, and that we've just diluted by giving everyone.
Yeah.
And by the way, you can't convert it back to cash for 5 years or whatever the time period is. Yeah. At which point it may not be worth anything.
Yeah, it just makes no sense. It the more you look into it, it just seems like there's someone pulling the strings. You're like, how? How can we just look? How can we have money with no backing? Because we know. I don't know if you've ever read, but I've read The Creature from Jekyll Island. It gives the history of fiat currency in general.
Yeah,
not just North America and England, the Bank of England, and whatever the 1700s. It never ends good. It always ends in a collapse because there's nothing to back the currency. So it's not even money anymore. It used to be what was it?
But by that time, the big bankers have seized all the assets, so they actually do have the wealth. It's just everybody else gets screwed.
Yeah, they end up owning assets, and they can transfer that to whatever new currency it is. But if you have no assets, you got retirement savings, and you're a renter, you're screwed. There's nothing you can do. Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure you guys have probably talked about this before, but that's why in the book, and I have to say I'm not a financial advisor, obviously, but
readiness.
That's the case for converting your cash into gold and silver, because historically, well, number one, that's what the banks are doing. They're buying gold and have been for a couple decades now, especially India, Russia, China. They've been on a buying spree, because they know it's coming. And they've got their BRICS currency, which is semi-gold backed. It looks like asset backed, but they've known for years this is coming. Jim Rickards, about 10 years ago, maybe it was longer than that, I read his book, The Death of Money. He said back then, at least 10 years ago, that they've done the calculations, and by 2028, it's all going to go bankrupt. The banking, all that. This fiat currency is going to come down by 2028. And at that time, I read it, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to believe him, because I'm pretty sure he's like ex-CIA. And so I was questioning his motives, but, it really looks like he's right. It looks like he was right.
It seems that way. Like it just keeps going into debt.
One of the things that I wonder, especially when we're talking about these topics, is like we've, in our lifetimes, your lifetime, we've experienced a period of peace, it's unheard of, unprecedented. And, we say that in the West, but it's like, that's been on the back of like just destabilizing nations all over the world. Right.
It's embarrassing once you find that out, isn't it?
Yes.
Isn't that like the biggest red pill wake up thing ever, to realize that the country that you really admired and respected, and the system and everything, was really tilted in the favor of a few Western nations, and the rest of the world's just been screwed by our policies for all this
as soon as I found out about Operation Gladio after World War II, I was like, we never stopped. They never stopped. And part of me wonders if this is just like all of this peace that we've had by doing everything that the Western civilizations have done all over the rest of the globe. Is this just the hens coming to roost? Where it's like we've been putting this and destabilizing these things to now where it's created a problem for everyone now, and we're just feeling those effects. And so you kind of, instead of saying that like this is a controlled, it's just like this is the system. Like we can't prop up, going to the Middle East anymore and stealing all their oil, and
the house of cards is finally coming down.
Yes,
right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. We're just seeing the end of an empire.
Yeah. Well, the crazy thing about it is that it's the people at the top that have arranged all this and had all these bad motives. Let's say the people really high up in control, but like the common person, the common citizen, really believed in the good principles of the nations. It's like it was like a two-edged sword. They create this story to kind of fool us or to get us to believe something, and then they're off doing their thing. But at the same time, there's still this certain level of patriotism and goodness in a lot of the Western world that, like a lot of people still have a good heart, good motives, want to do the best to help people. And but like the globalists are all corrupt and evil, and it's like you got two cultures within the same society.
Right. Now, we're going to end here pretty quick here, but we talk about, it's always the they, like these world orders. After all your research, writing the book, who is it?
I think they go by they, them.
And we're canceled again. Like, what do you think?
Were you finished asking your question?
That was pretty much like what Braden interrupted it. But what do you think, or who are some of the main players? Is it just organizations, groups of people, or is it actually like individual people with obscene wealth?
Well, there are certain organizations that control enormous amounts of power. I mean, we've talked about them, the World Economic Forum and everything that's part of that. The combination of these organizations combined with the world's largest corporations, being a part of the World Economic Forum, being a part of that system, the United Nations, obviously, they work hand in hand, Agenda 2030, World Economic Forum talking about that. But then you add to that the banking system and the bankers, and that's where to me the real power is money is power. Money is the banking system. The banking system are families. They're independent. They're not really nations. They're not, the nations don't own the bank.
It's just a bank.
That's just part of the global banking system. And I think that's where the power is. Now you can get into the families like, the Rothschilds and all that, but still we're talking about the banking system. And there's all kinds of rabbit hole theories we can go down, like what is their real philosophy? I think there's a really good case to be made for that. It's Freemasonry or other secret society type beliefs, that there's a lot of parallels between what they believe. And again, a lot of it at the very top has overlapping beliefs with Satanism and, a lot of secrecy behind it. But I really believe that they want to develop a one world order with a one world governor that will be basically the Antichrist who will have absolute rule. I think they actively want to bring in that system, and that's what they're going for. And it just it happens to coincide very tightly with what the Bible predicted 2,000 years ago, and I think that's where they're headed. I don't think that they necessarily have to succeed. I personally believe that I was shown this not like as a prophecy of the future, but as a warning to open our eyes and push back and do something about it. And I actually do have hope that it's possible. I'm not black-pilled. I'm not giving in to despair. I feel like there's hope. I personally believe that there is spiritual power behind anyone who's willing to act with courage and face evil without flinching. My devotion in the book. The book's the devotion to the book just says something like to those who speak the truth at great personal cost, and to all who face evil unflinchingly, you are my inspiration. And I really believe that. I think that God honors people who will go to the very end to do what's right, to help their fellow man, and not to give in to evil. But sometimes you got to go right to the edge. And I think that's what we all got to do. We all got to do our small part. And I really think we can avoid this, or at least we can avoid the worst of it.
Have you seen any wins that you think that are like a pushback?
Well, I think it might be a small win, but I think it's significant. And, the whole DEI movement has kind of been blown apart. And that really began in earnest when Trump said this is over in the federal government. And he came out so strongly against DEI. Then they ended it in the military. And then people started waking up like, yeah, what are we doing? And comedians started saying, this is BS, And the whole DEI thing now is like a joke. And how did that happen? It was awareness and people saying, I've had enough. And all of a sudden, corporations start dropping their DEI. They're firing their HR DEI people. I mean, they're just like offloading all this DEI stuff. I mean, it's still in the colleges.
Go woke, go broke.
Well, exactly. Meritocracy is the only way you're going to get it.
The best way.
It's the only way.
Yeah, so that would be an example of a win. I mean, in the U.S. at least we shut down the border, so that was a win. There's a lot of pushback. I mean, sometimes I have to laugh because people get so obsessed with Trump, and they try to make it into a personality thing. It's never about what the real issues are. The reason these globalists hate him so much is because he's pushing back on a lot of their policies. They hate him. They tried to destroy him. They tried to kill him. They tried to put him in jail. They tried to stop him from running. And it's because his policies are, what we call nationalist policies. To me, there's no left-right that matters. All that matters is nationalism or globalism. In other words, globalism or not globalism. That'd be an even better way to say it, because that's what nationalism is. It's not globalism.
Like, you can have nationalism with global partnerships is totally fine, but it's when when you have these like intertwining cross-border organizations that seem to like push and pull like do their own policy on countries they're not even in. Like, these meetings are not even in the countries of like most of the Western world, and all of a sudden we adopt the policies, we push this thing and the other thing. And all
exactly,
of a sudden,
and that's what Trump is trying to do, agreements between nations. Now, I know all the tariff stuff is crazy.
Ouch.
That's
a sore spot for us.
Sore spot for us Canadians up here.
The art of the deal is you come out with some outrageous thing, and then you compromise somewhere in the middle, but where you compromised was way better than what you would have done if you wouldn't have had this outrageous thing first, and then you pull back. But, it's becoming agreements between nations, and he's openly said at the UN even, nation to nation, you should make your own agreements. None of this world agreement stuff, so he's pushing back that way too.
Well, it plays into, again, the pillars for us, especially where our country is ran by a globalist.
Yeah.
Right. We have state-sponsored media, so we're never going to get ahead. We're always these people are going to keep winning because they're funding the media. They're going to get elected. It's just the way it goes. But, there is incentive for globalists to keep sabotaging any of these fucking trade negotiations because they want shit to collapse. So
they do.
We don't know. We see the media and we want to blame Trump. Oh, it's him. He's hard to deal with. His tariffs are crazy. But who knows? We're only being told what we're being fed by this bullshit media. Maybe we're the ones being, unruly with this shit. Maybe Carney is purposefully fucking tanking these negotiations to absolutely destroy our fucking economy.
I think probably the same way they're trying to tank any type of agreement between Ukraine and Russia. They're sabotaging it. NATO is sabotaging it. I mean, the non-U.S. part of NATO is trying to sabotage those agreements to stop it from happening. to stop the war from ending.
Well,
I mean, they've got a 30-year plan to carve Russia up into like 5 different regions. They think they can just bankrupt Russia by running this war for a couple more decades and having it be like the Middle East where everything just goes to crap in a handbag.
I mean, you can't shun out a superpower like Russia and then have NATO expansion all around their borders. What do you expect? What do you want?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
What do you
It's not going to work.
Yeah, you're surrounding us. What are you doing? No, for peace against you. Like, what the fuck? What are we doing here, guys? Like, we're not acting in good faith.
I could just imagine if China started moving weapons into Mexico closer and closer to the border, decade after decade, bigger and faster, and and the U.S. is going to be sure, we won't invade. No,
imagine if Russia moved missiles to Cuba. Like, wouldn't that cause an international uproar?
Wow, right? Yeah, imagine that. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's you look at, Trump and the U.S. working on a ceasefire in Palestine, right, in Gaza, and then like a day before, Carney comes out and just says, we're gonna. You had all the time in your run to recognize Palestine as a state and whatever. You do it the day before,
right?
Like, and it's just like you're genuine. Like, whatever you feel, that's fine. I'm not going after you for your whatever. But it's just like the timing. It's like you're trying to cause. Yeah, you're undercutting. You're causing issues. You're like, it's fucking.
Our closest ally says this, and we're just gonna go.
Yeah. Right. Like, you're causing fucking. You're honestly, I genuinely feel like they're trying to.
It was the same thing that just happened. It was we had this. You've heard of it, I'm sure. The government of Ontario, so a provincial government, cut up a Ronald Reagan ad, like a speech.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
He said all these things. He didn't say them in that order, and they cut out some parts. They doctored his speech and paid a bunch of money because Canada's hurting. So we're going to put this ad on American soil and make them feel bad for us. So then that'll help us somehow. And then they're like,
crazy.
That was dumb. You're back to the bottom of the list again. All right, we'll deal with Belarus next, I guess.
So here's just one last geopolitical thought that I have not heard anyone else say. But think about, what are the great forces in the world that are standing between what the globalists want and what could possibly stop them. There's 2 forces in the world, big forces. One's the U.S. when it has the right leadership. The other one is Russia. And this is why the globalists have been working so hard to get the U.S. and Russia at each other. If you think about Hillary Clinton, back when she was running, she was talking about a cyber attack will be considered to be the same as a physical attack. And she was saying things like, if the commander-in-chief gives the command for nuclear weapons to be fired, they must be fired. She was kind of warming people up for this. And they've been doing the same thing ever since, trying to get us at each other's throats. The one thing that I think could bring peace to the world, and I know I'm going to take a hit for this because it's so counterintuitive, would be if Russia and the United States would form a union against globalism and just put it to rest.
Oh, no, because then Canada's trapped in the middle. Then we're screwed.
Well, somewhere Dan's head just exploded.
Yeah, Dan's dead.
But what I mean, it could break the power of it, and then it could start to fail everywhere else among the world. Could you imagine if the United States and Russia together started pulling in allies, other countries who were against globalism? I mean,
it worked in World War II.
Be over real quick.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even think they have to pull in allies. If the United States and Russia came to an agreement, but like, hey, we gotta curb this. It's curbed that day.
Yeah. If they became true allies, and I see the potential there. I mean, when I saw that body language in Alaska, there seemed to be an enthusiasm between Putin and Trump. It seemed genuine to me. I watch body language a lot. And I've seen it other times, and I've read a lot of not a lot, but I've read a few of Putin's speeches, and he's not the demon people make him out to be. And the reason they want to make him out to be a demon is to try to create this clash between the U.S. and all of NATO and Russia. But if we could stop that, again, these are the two greatest forces against globalism. China's lost, Europe is in the bag for it. It's really the U.S. and Russia that are the force against it.
The reason why we can't have this though is because the hockey team would be too good. We can't deal with
Canada will not put up with any kind of truce between Russia and America.
It's a truce. It's not a joining of nations. There'll still be separate teams.
As long as your players can't play together on any kind of international tournaments, we're fine.
Yeah.
We must maintain ice superiority.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. No, I agree. All the stuff in Ukraine, Russia, all that is just fucking insane.
It is.
I don't even know how that ends. It does seem like it's the next Middle East. What are we, almost 4 years in? The whole length of World War II? We're almost into that.
It's such a meat grinder. I mean, there's hardly any men left in Ukraine. They're drafting women. You know, they're going. Have you seen the videos where they go into the nightclubs and kidnap the guys? To get to pull them into the Ukrainian army. It's just nuts.
Yeah, that whole system, it's insane. Obviously, we're not going to solve it on this podcast, but we hope for the best on that. But we're going to end the interview portion of this. It's up to you, Allan. We always record another 45 minutes. You can stay, or your time agreed upon is already done. But tell the people where they can get the book, where they can follow you, how they can continue the good fight.
Yeah. So if you would go to globalcollapsebook.com, the best thing would be, the way you could help me out is actually to buy a signed copy. And they're about the same price as an unsigned Amazon copy, $1 or $2 more. That's in the U.S. I can only ship to the U.S. because the shipping outside of the U.S. is just more than the cost of the book.
Blame Carney.
Yeah, but if you're in the U.S., I can ship you a signed copy, and they're also in sets of 3, 6, 12, and even 18. And believe it or not, I've had some people buy them in those in 18, 12s, and 6. Sell a lot of 3s. But, this is a book that can wake up your family members, your friends, the people you care about in life who are just blind to how the world really works. And for the folks who kind of know how the world works, this connects all the dots, gives you 175 QR codes that are links you can share on your cell phone to videos and other eye-opening information. It is kind of a fun book to read in the sense that you got all these videos and illustrations. So it's not a heavy read. So I would encourage people, give it a chance, share the information. If we can get enough people on board, we can create the kind of pushback that we need to stop this thing pillar by pillar.
Love it. Allan, that was a blast, man. Thank you very much for coming on the show. We are going to take a short break on the stream here. We're going to talk to Allan, and we're going to be right back.